And I was thinking about this. I'm like, man, let's say we live in a world where Myles Garrett gets 20 plus sacks, maybe breaks the sack record. Let's say he breaks the sack record, gets Defensive Player of the Year. I think right there, he's a Hall of Famer. But speaking of expectations, speaking of wasting a year of Myles Garrett, let's talk about Myles Garrett, because I'm pretty sure Myles Garrett, like, what's a wasted year to a football player, right? Like, I don't know, when you played in college, G, at OU, right? I don't know how OU was. I know OU's like up and down as a program, but there might have been a year or two where OU wasn't really projected to win the MAC. That don't mean you waste the season. You still got individual goals that you shoot for in career things that you're trying to get as a football player. And what if Myles gets the sack record this year and the Browns don't make the playoffs? You think Myles Garrett going to think this is a wasted season if he gets Defensive Player of the Year? Like, this is why I don't get when people unilaterally say that stuff. Is like, oh, it's a wasted year. What do you mean? Right. And this is exactly what I mean. And the expectations from Myles Garrett, they're not going to change because Deshaun Watson's not out there.
Because a lot of those people, this is why I don't, fantasy football done ruin a lot of the game. And trust me, I like fantasy football. I love playing it. But when there's 2 or 3 things that have led to that type of rhetoric, a wasted year. You never used to hear that type of rhetoric, late 80s, early 90s, because people understood how difficult it was to get your body to play these games, how competitive the games were. And then they started saying the words franchise quarterback. And then franchise quarterback really just took all of the focus off every other position and put it on the face of a guy who you're putting all your hopes on. And that kind of rhetoric really lends itself to diminishing the game of football from a nuanced perspective. You don't get people that are interested in learning about what's going on up front, coverages in the back end, complementary football. People have lost contact with that. So now all it's about is who's on my fantasy team and you got a franchise quarterback. And then now it's got so minuscule, we don't even know like what the criteria for a franchise quarterback is. So now everybody is like, oh, well, if you don't got one of these guys that we think is really good, the season's over. And you're like, bro, do you not watch football? Do you just skim through it? Or like, Jay-Z had a quote, do you guys listen to rap music or do you just skim through it?
Well, like, let's be real. There's a lot of people who just watch the highlights. Like, I know when I talk football with people, there's a lot of people who just watch the highlights. And I'm not like demeaning them. If you don't got time, like whatever, man. Like, hey, I'm a football freak. I put a ridiculous amount of time of my life into watching football. I'm not requiring for you to call yourself a football fan that you do the same. But acknowledge what level of this you on, right? I hate when people try to tell me that they're like, experts when they watch the highlight clips, right? You know what I mean? And that's what happens a lot. People just watch the highlights, or people just kind of, they do this thing where, it don't matter. It's ring culture, right? It doesn't matter if you don't get a ring. And it's like, man,
I hate that.
Football seasons especially, they're not about, like, you wouldn't want to win a championship. Obviously, you need, like, championships are great. Like, I'm not trying to diminish the value of a championship. But moments are important because that's what makes a fandom worthwhile. Why do people in this city love Bernie Kosar so damn much? Because he brought the team moments. Same thing with Baker Mayfield. As much as we have told you, like, he's all right, but he ain't great. People think he's great because he delivered some moments that no other quarterback in Cleveland since Bernie Kosar has delivered. Point blank, period. So
there's some value to that. There is value to that.
There is value to, I mean, like, as terrible as the 2013 season was, where we had Josh Campbell, Brandon Wheaton, just all the carousel of sorry QBs running in there. Did it feel like a lost season? Because we got to watch Josh Gordon lead the league in receiving yards. You know what I mean? Like, these things matter, right? And when we diminish the value of it, the only people we are robbing as sports fans are ourselves, because we're telling ourselves we can't appreciate anything that isn't rings. Like, we can't appreciate greatness that's displayed in different ways. It's got to be, did you win the championship or not? And that's really just robbing a lot of the fun out of sports and boiling it down to, the main end goal, but it's not everything that we watch football for. Like, how many dudes in this league are beloved but have never won a championship? And there's a reason for that, because they do. Marshawn Lynch is a prime example. Like, he won one championship early in his career with not early, late in his career with the Seahawks. I'm pretty sure he did, right?
Yeah.
But then
could have won the second one.
Yeah, could have won the second one. They gave him the damn ball, but didn't give him the ball. But like, he's not moping around acting like, oh, I'm not a 2-time champion. Like nobody, like, it's just, I think we do this to ourselves because we're in this kind of microwave culture where we just kind of want stuff now. And if it's not the championship, then what am I doing? But we really like rob ourselves of enjoying the process. And that's what football is. A love for football is a love for the enjoyment of the process, because that's what breaking down film is. It's just looking at the process and loving it. That's what football is about. It's the process. It's not necessarily always only about the result. The result always matters, but it's not only about the result, as a fan.
When we was back in 2014, I used to get mad at people all the time because they used to just say, oh, listen, it's all about the Cavs and the Warriors. The only games that matter is with the Warriors in June and whether or not the Cavs are going to play the Warriors on Christmas Day, which they usually did. And they only cared about those two games because the Warriors only played the Cavs once in Cleveland, once on the West Coast during the season. And then it would just be like, well, we already know we're going to the finals. And I'm like, how many people robbed themselves an opportunity of getting a chance to see a prime LeBron go to the finals 4 times in a row and get average like 40 and 10 and 12 and 9 and 6 and 3 in the finals, and you just kept saying it didn't matter unless we won a championship, man. It's ridiculous.
Imagine saying that 2018 playoff run is irrelevant because LeBron did. Like, imagine saying that that's a wasted playoff run.
That was the best playoff. That was the best playoff run
honestly,
he had.
I enjoyed that run more than about the same as I enjoyed the championship win. Like, obviously, I enjoyed the championship more, but like that run was crazy. It didn't end the way you wanted it to, but it was enjoyable the whole way through.
Every round, the first round against the Pacers, they was down in that series. It was a game 7. He hit a crazy jump shot.
He hit a game winner in every game, in one game at least in that series.
He hit 2 against the Raptors. I think he hit 2 against them. And the crazy thing about it is the culmination up to the game 7 in Boston when he just basically just took over. And then the game 1 against that's the best game I've ever seen anybody play.
Crazy.
That 50-51 against and to me, that was the greatest team ever assembled. Mm-hmm. And put it to you like that. He goes off against and hits for 50, a 50-point triple-double against Steph, Clay, Draymond, and KD, prime, right? Andre Iguodala coming off the bench. Tell me why this all sets up that makes people look dumb. The fact that he was such a big underdog and the fact that there wasn't nobody else on that roster made it more enjoyable to watch. The same way, like if you get a MYLES Garrett this year that ends up with 25 sacks or something, and he has signature moments like strip sacks, taking him to the house, interceptions. He has 25 sacks, and then he does that and then dominates during the run through the playoffs to get the team to the Super Bowl. Like, and then you got people saying because there's no Deshaun Watson that it's a waste of year. No, that's what sports is about, bro. Sports is about playing the games, not about what you think in your mind. That's the reason why I can't really respect certain mindsets, because it's like, bro, until you've been out there and you know how much work you put in and you know how hard it is to get up every single day and you know you've been on some special teams that got hot and got the momentum, the games is all that matter, not about what you think about the games. Like, and it's hard to explain that to people.
Yeah, and speaking of MYLES Garrett, I heard him on NFL Network talking about his expectations for this year, what his goals are, and he said he want to get the franchise sack record, which is crazy. MYLES Garrett's technically still in his fifth. Well, he's in his 6th year in the NFL, I think now, going into it. Yeah. He's about to break the Browns franchise sack record if he gets 4 sacks this year. I'm going to go out on a limb and say he might get that.
He's going to do that.
And he also, has this single season sack record on his mind, because first he was trying to break the Browns single season sack record. Now he got that last year. Now he's thinking about the single season sack record of the NFL, and he said his goal is 24 sacks.
I
How
put
you
it at
feel
25.
about how he can get it? You think he get 25? Like, what are the realistic expectations here for Myles Garrett? Because he's one of those players to where if you just look at him and see him play and watch him do that Euro step, you could feel like it's not ridiculous to expect him to get 30. But like nobody's getting 30, right? It's just one of them things with Myles is he's so talented that the expectations are always going to be crazy.
I don't know about that, bro. You got to think about it. If you get 2 sacks a game, that's 34. Right? Like that's 34, fam. Like, and so what if you just got 2 sacks a game and then like you missed 2 games, you didn't get no sacks in them games? That's 30 right there. You know what I'm saying?
Look at some of the quarterbacks that they playing right. You're going to play Mason Rudolph, Mitch Trubisky. They're notorious for holding the ball 2 times a year. Baker Mayfield, who we know has a propensity to hold the ball too. Like a lot of sackable quarterbacks here. Joe Burrow, real sackable.
And it's a lot of it's a throwing league. And here's the thing too. If Joe Woods decides to move him around the line of scrimmage and just be like, we don't care where, on passing downs, Myles Garrett is going to line up on whatever side is the weakest lineman, offensive lineman. If he would to do that, whether it's a guard, whether it's a tackle, whoever, Myles Garrett, and then you twist and text and stunt and do things like that where they didn't know where he was coming from, Myles Garrett can easily be mid-20s. They just line him up and be lazy and say he's better than him, and so they just rush him like without the most of the time, just rush him without any games being played.
Who does Myles Garrett historically remind you of, right? Because like I have never seen a player like him before, but like I don't know, you go deeper in the Rolodex than me. Like, have you ever seen anybody remind you of Myles Garrett back in the day?
No, because he don't have the same build as Reggie White, and Reggie White he wasn't as fast as him, right? You know what I'm saying? Crazy. Straight line speed, fast, like, you know what I'm saying?
Every time I see a Reggie White split for his career, I'm like, oh, he was like really good.
Oh no, Reggie White for the Eagles. Like, see, he was the first 3 technique. He was the first 3 technique. He got the build of a 3 technique playing defensive end. But he's strong, he fast, he got a array of moves. So at the time, he was already bigger than your tackles. He was already bigger than those dudes. So he was just like, he had the forklift technique. He was just throwing people out the way. He had he was just a monster. Then you look at like Lawrence Taylor is one guy that comes to mind. But Lawrence Taylor was, he's 230, something like that. He wasn't. Myles Garrett 280 something, and he's faster than all the DNs. Like, he's not a Clowney. He's more muscular than Clowney.
And then he's so bendy too. Like that bend is crazy.
Thank you for saying that. That's what sets him aside. Is like the way he's able to bend at the knees and the waist, and he's able to get low, like, and be comfortable like that. His dip move is low. He's flexible. He can do a lot of things like Jadeveon Clowney is really fast. He's kind of twitchy, but Jadeveon Clowney is way stiffer than Myles Garrett.
Oh, he's super. Like he's not Jadeveon Clowney wins with he loves that inside rip move, right? Where he just kind of goes and fights with his hands and then rips inside. Yeah. He's always won like that too. If you go back to his South Carolina tape, that's how he got that hit inside shoulder. Like, money, by the way. Like, whenever you give him that 1/2 second of opportunity as a tackle, if you give Clowney that inside shoulder for him to rip on, it's a wrap. He's gonna get it. But that's his move, right? Myles, on the other hand, and think about how crazy of an athlete Jadeveon is. Myles got like 4 moves like that, right? He got that Euro step he like to use on guards. Yep. He got that rip and dip move, which is unstoppable. I don't know how you stop that. And then he has a great bull rush. We've seen that before. And then he get bored sometimes to do a spin move. He does not ever have to do a spin move, but he just does it sometimes because he's bored. And spin move. Yeah, he's just such a dominant player. And I was thinking about this. I'm like, man, let's say we live in a world where Myles Garrett gets 20 plus sacks, maybe breaks the sack record. Let's say he breaks the sack record, gets Defensive Player of the Year. I think right there, he's a Hall of Famer. I think he gets put in the Hall of Fame based off of these 6 years alone, which is crazy to think about.
He's gonna put. See, here's the thing. He's gonna get put in the Hall of Fame regardless of what his sack totals really kind of look like, because you can say just by looking at him, he's one of the most talented defensive ends ever. Like just on physical ability, like right, like you can like there's guys like Green. They used to play for the Steelers. He had 190 something, 170 something tackle sacks, and I'm like, he's better than him. You look at you got, I think Pat Swilling is in there. Chris Dolman is in the Hall of Fame as a pass rusher. Charles Haley is in the pass like in as a pass rusher. There's a lot of guys that you I didn't even think was able to be in the Hall of Fame, but then you look at their sack totals and it kind of put them in there. Like even guys like Howie Long. Howie Long was good. I mean, Howie Long ain't no Myles Garrett. Like, even if he had the sacks, you know what I'm saying? You could just look at physical tools, right? And here's the thing that I look at. Like, in this era, they'll give it to him and he'll be able to get it off because they'll just say, look, he played with Aaron Donald, right? And Aaron Donald, right now, if he quit, he might be known as the best defensive player ever.
I was thinking about that. Like, you could just look at Aaron Donald and be like, yeah, he's so much better than Warren Sapp, which is crazy thought to have, but it's not even a debate. He's much better than Warren Sapp. Like, the only guy I think you can really compare to him at that position at 3-tech is what, Reggie White? Like, maybe that, but Aaron Donald, I mean, like, maybe prime J.J. Watt has an argument there, too, right? Because some of the numbers prime J.J. Watt was putting up.
I mean, he had like crazy. 18 pass deflections 1 year.
Yeah. But to think about this, though, we T.J. Watt and Myles Garrett are young players, and I want to put this in perspective because we make these Hall of Fame arguments when guys are 40, but the Hall of Fame, the meat of the players' Hall of Fame argument usually happens before they turn 30, right? Yeah. Dan Marino was put in the Hall of Fame based off of everything he did before he was 30, right? Yeah. If you look at somebody like T.J. Watt and Myles Garrett, they're another 18-plus sack season to being a Hall of Famer, like off jump, like that's just what it's going to be. Because
Justin Houston, right? Justin Houston's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Like, there's a lot of guys, and sometimes when you get older, you don't be getting it. Like I'm 40, so I'll be looking around like, oh man, I done seen these dudes kind of get drafted a little bit. I didn't see them get drafted and retire. That was Joe Thomas. Was that for me? Like, I'm like,
yeah, when he goes to the Hall next year.
Yeah, I'm like, Joe Thomas. I saw you get drafted, and then I saw you retire, and that's crazy. It just messed you up a little bit, right? I'll be happy to. And what I want to see though is this. I'd be happy if they can this year and like next year. If Nick Chubb can get like 1,800.
Yeah, because then you can start making the Hall of Fame argument for Nick Chubb.
By 1,800, and then give him again like another 1,700 right here. But
that's all. Is that all Nick Chubb needs is a rushing title?
He probably needs a rushing title.
He probably needs two.
And he might need, if he could get a 20 touchdown year. 20 touchdown year, give or take. Maybe sneak in a rushing title, and if the Browns can get to a Super Bowl, he got the numbers, and he's likable enough too. Like, he's the guy that the writers will write in because, like, If Curtis Martin is in,
that's true. That's true, right?
And Frank Gore gonna get in.
Yeah, Frank Gore
third all time. I think he's third all time. Somewhere around there?
Frank Gore has had some crazy seasons. Like, if you're not aware of it, you look at Frank Gore's numbers and you're like, oh, Frank Gore was really, really good back in the day. But it's just crazy. Like, when we think about a guy like Nick Chubb, same draft class as other players, in 2018 that we're still trying to figure out, right? We're still trying to see what's up with Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield. But, Nick Chubb, we're talking about 2 more elite seasons, he might be a Hall of Famer. That's just the difference in how fast this moves. I brought this up on Twitter. It's the last thing I'll bring up. I just want to see your reaction to it. You know, if Deshaun Watson gets suspended for a year, he would still be a year younger than Brandon Weeden was when he took his first start for the Cleveland Browns.
Bro, that's crazy. And I forgot that, and you look at Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson's stats. You know Deshaun Watson is like younger than Baker Mayfield.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a year younger.
Come on, man.
Come on. If Deshaun Watson gets suspended for a year, he would be the same age that Baker Mayfield would have been starting this year.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Look, we don't even care.
And Lamar is like 2 years younger than both of them.
You know, that's a tough. Whew, that's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, I think Lamar is the same age as Joe Burrow, right? Because Joe Burrow stayed that extra year in college. Kenny Pickett might be close to being the second oldest quarterback in this division.
Hey, I've been trying to see him. I'm not gonna lie, man. If he cold, cool.
I'm off it. No, I don't care if this bites me in the ass. I believe in my eyes. I know that man ain't good at football. I know he's not an NFL quarterback. Hell no. If Kenny Pickett turns into a Pro Bowler, I'll be shocked. I will be shocked.
I'm just saying, man. Shoot. My goodness, man. My goodness.
As always, G, it's always fun kicking it with you. We doing this before the preseason game, so if something drastic pops off in this preseason game, don't be in the comment, why they ain't talking about this? Why GBUSH and Quincy ignoring this? We gonna talk about it. We doing this before, you know. Brothers got jobs. We got stuff to do. It's a Friday night, you know what I mean? We recorded this before the game, so please be respectful of that. Yeah, man. God forbid something happens in this game that we got to cover, like for real. And, you know, I don't want anything like that. I don't want y'all to be mad at me, but G, always cool kicking it with you. Look, man, I feel like I bullied GBUSH. He got this hat on again. I'm going to leave it alone. GBUSH is my homie. You know what I mean?
Listen, I'm just saying, you in Atlanta, you got to get a cut every 2 days in Atlanta. They ain't letting you get that off down there in Chocolate City.
And they're expensive.
Yeah, they 55.
I don't even want to say it, G, but it's bigger than that. But
these cats,
y'all have a good day. Shout out GBUSH. Shout out GBUSH's hat. By the way, show your wife more respect next time, homie. She's 5 foot flat. She's not. Stop disrespecting her with the 4s, my guy.
You can't give her no inch neither, Quincy. She is 4'11" tops.
No. I got the same rules with 4'11" that I got with 5'11". That height does not exist. I have never met a human being that was 4'11" or 5'11". You know why? Because you go around that up to 6 foot. You ever met somebody who was 5'11" in a football locker room? I've met dudes who are 5'9". I've met dudes who are 5'7". They're really 5'2". And I've met dudes who are 6 foot and above. I ain't never met somebody who's 5'10" or 5'11" in the football locker room. They always round that up. You know what I mean?
And in about 2 years, they're going to make it 6'1". Yeah, I'm low-key 6'1". I just shrunk, though.
You want to know your football height at home if you've never played? Here's how this usually works out. Take your actual height, add 2 inches. That's how they do it.
Lo and behold.
And if that 2 inches gets you to 5'10", you are now 6 foot. Congratulations. That is how this one works. But that's free game for y'all. Y'all have a great day. Have a good night, G. Nice doing this with you.